Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of our workshops under the Build Hour. I'm Víctor Muñoz, developer advocate at Metis, and today I'm going to have the pleasure to introduce you to Michael Dankanich from Cookbook. So we are going to be doing something very special today because we are going to be deploying a trading pair on a DEX on Metis. So this DEX is called Hermes and is super easy to use. You can swap, you can stake, and since you are on Metis, which is a scalable solution of Ethereum, the fees, as you will see, are super low. So welcome. How are you doing today, Michael?
Doing great, Victor. It's good to be back doing another workshop. Really excited to share all of this great developer content with our audience today.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. I know that people in the past have requested for this, and that's why we decided to, go ahead and show it from beginning to end how to create a pool and a trading pair on Metis. So I see that we have already few people connecting. That's great. Make sure always to subscribe to our channel because we are going to keep doing these workshops to help you guys get started with your Web3 development career. And without further ado, let's go ahead, Michael.
Awesome. So first, what I'll do is just cover the topics that we'll go over for this workshop. So first, we'll use cookbook.dev to find or import our own ERC20 token smart contract. So different ERC20s, have different functions. We'll do a little bit of research on finding the one that we want to deploy. Then we'll go ahead and deploy that ERC20 token smart contract to the Metis mainnet using our hard hat boilerplate from cookbook.dev. We'll make sure that that contract is verified on the block explorer and check it out there. Then we'll create a pool or trading pair on Hermes for our newly deployed token by adding some liquidity with the newly deployed token and Metis. And then we'll test the swap on Hermes. So after this workshop, you'll be able to find a smart contract for an ERC20 token that you want to deploy, get it on mainnet, and then let other users buy and sell it, essentially. So because, just a heads up, this is a live workshop, things are always being updated and changing in the Web3 ecosystem. So please bear with us during, any live stuff. We will have an article released after this workshop that contains all of the config or deploy or verify code or scripts that you need in order to follow this exactly. So look out for that afterwards. It'll be a great resource in addition to this workshop for getting started. So without further ado, I'll jump into Cookbook and show you guys how to begin researching and finding ERC20 tokens to deploy to Metis.
Amazing. And before we get started with all of the steps of this nice workshop, for the people in our audience, please make sure to leave your comments and questions in the chat because we read them all and we make sure that we cover all of your questions. And in the future, if you want to see other things, please let us know. So let's go ahead, Michael, with this workshop.
Excellent. Thank you, Victor. So I'll get started over at cookbook.dev. The first thing I'll point out is our Metis developer resources page. If you need to add the network to your wallet, you can do that here. You can access testnet tokens through faucets, and we have resources and links to all of the developer resources that you need to begin building on Metis, including some additional guides over here. So you can just go and click add to wallet here, go through a couple steps. We'll skip that. And then just switch over to Metis, and you can jump into the faucet here if you want to do a testnet deploy. But for this workshop, we'll be deploying straight to mainnet and then making that token available to trade on the DEX. So first, we want to find the actual smart contract that we want to use for our ERC20 token. If you go into the cookbook.dev contract search page, you can either click contracts over here or type in cookbook.dev/search. You'll see our smart contract registry, and library. Here you can see we have 1,000 curated smart contracts that the Cookbook team has put together for you to use as the start or a building block in your project. So if we're looking for a token contract, we can either search for tokens as a keyword in this search bar, or we can use a filter. So for this, I'll just use a filter and we can see some of our options. We see that we have a token staking contract, a voting contract, a mintable ERC20 token, and then dozens more available for you here. So if you want to find a token with, let's say a sales tax, there's a fee that the user has to pay every single time the token is sold. You can find a contract like that through Cookbook. If you need additional help finding an ERC20 token smart contract that you'd like to deploy that has certain features that maybe aren't standard in like a simple ERC20 implementation, you can jump into the Cookbook Dev Discord at discord.gg/cookbookdev, all one word, and our team will be happy to chat with you and help you source your smart contract. So in this case, let's see, Open Zeppelin mintable ERC20 token. If we click this, we'll get to our contract page on Cookbook. We have a couple of info points on the token. So the features that we see here is that you could pre-mint your initial supply, mint as many tokens, and only the contract owner can mint new tokens. So if you want to learn about some of this code before actually getting into building, you can ask questions in the expand tab or highlight different code snippets. So for example, if you want to learn about the mint function, you can just highlight that, analyze that snippet, and our AI copilot and assistant will give you like a rundown on what that particular function does in this contract. So as you're sourcing a contract and deploying it, I encourage you to do some research and understand the different components of the smart contract that you are putting on chain. So we see we're getting an answer over here. It's great. We're learning about our contract. When we're comfortable deciding that this is the contract we're going to use, we can actually begin building. So I'm going to go into download source right over here under get cooking and select Hardhat. So Hardhat is an Ethereum toolchain that just makes it easier for developers to build different Ethereum projects. So we're going to go ahead and open this in VS Code, and bear with me a few seconds here. I do have two monitors and I'll be switching between them. So I'll get my newly downloaded contract pulled up here in just a second.
Not a problem. In the meantime, I can highlight that this tool with the AI that you can just ask questions inside the code itself, it's an amazing tool. It can really boost your learning curve. And I would encourage everyone, even people who are experienced, to give it a try because you're going to learn something for sure.
Thanks, Victor. So here I've just opened our mintable token boilerplate in VS Code. This is how it'll come if you just download it directly from Cookbook. You'll see a couple of files over here. And I'll point out that we do have a README for all of our boilerplates on Cookbook. So if you're doing this on your own and need a reference outside of this workshop, you can always jump in here, and we have these step-by-step instructions on how to deploy your smart contracts and work with them using our Hardhat boilerplates. So we do have our mintable token contract right here already imported. We're going to make a few changes to our boilerplate and then go ahead and deploy. So the first change, we'll go into the .env file over here. We'll uncomment out line number 10 with our wallet private key. We have to add this to our code here so that we're able to access that wallet to pay the network fees in order to deploy to Metis mainnet. So in order to find your private key, what you would do is go into your MetaMask, go into accounts, account details, and then from there you can export your private key, which will come as just kind of a long string of letters and numbers. Make sure to always keep your private key private and never share it with anybody, because you can lose all of your funds if this happens. So if you're pushing this repo to GitHub after, make sure to add a git ignore into the .env file name so that that's not added, and then you don't lose that private key and access to those funds. So I'm going to go ahead and switch monitors so I can input my private key and keep it private. So bear with me for just one moment there. And if you need Metis, I think that Victor can talk you through how to bridge from Ethereum in order to get mainnet tokens while I add my wallet private key here.
For sure. The easiest way to go about it is to use the official bridge page that we have. If you go to metis.io, you will find it in one click. And from there, you can take your funds on Ethereum, bridge that to Metis. And with that, you can even claim some faucet tokens for pay for gas fees there. Metis is really supportive. And then you can start exploring our ecosystem. Um, I can assure you, you are going to have a good experience. The chain works super fast, and the fees are really, really comfortable to really deploy on Metis at any time. And you don't have to be worried about, okay, maybe I should go to testnet because, the gas fees and all that. With Metis, really, people kind of get used to deploying on mainnet. It's not something that I would advise for sure to do always, but this is just an example of how cheap the fees are in our chain, and we strive to really, really push this forward and to try to decrease this as much as possible. So I see that you already have the file there.
Yep, so I've just gone and privately added my private key to the .env file right up here. So it's uncommenting out line 10 so that code is no longer commented, and then just adding the private key after the equal sign there without any quotes, and then saving that file. So just be sure to do that on your own, and as always, keep that private key as secure as you possibly can. What we'll do next is install some packages and dependencies for our projects. So we'll just run npm install. And you can see this in the README as well. So just following along here in the provided README that you'll get when you download the boilerplate. And while this installs here, we'll give it a second. We'll jump into our hard hat, and you can see we got a couple of extra files here as everything is installing. We'll jump into our hardhat.config.js folder, and we can see that our packages were successfully added right over here after running that. So we can go into hardhat.config.js right now. This is already set up for kind of quick configuration, but for the purpose of this workshop, I'll just copy and paste the Metis network configuration into this, and we'll provide this in the Medium article that I had mentioned exactly. So you can just copy and paste the exact code that I'm doing right now and not have to worry about your hardhat config file. So we can really see that we've added some RPCs and links to the block explorer over here. So we'll go ahead and make sure that that's saved. And then we'll jump into our deploy.js script. So these are the last changes that we'll make to the boilerplate before going into compilation, deploying, and verifying our smart contract. So we see that we have a field here on line 6 of the boilerplate that says add args here. We'll essentially be adding our constructor arguments for our token contract over here. So that'll be like the token name, the symbol that you'll see on block explorers or exchanges, as well as the initial token supply for our mintable token. So to keep things simple, let's call it Metis Workshop. We'll name our symbol work, and then we'll set our initial token supply. One thing to note to be careful about when setting your initial token supply in a constructor is the amount of zeros for this hardhat boilerplate and all the ones that we provide on Cookbook. This is measured, the values are measured in Wei, essentially, which is the smallest or one of the smaller units of count in Ethereum. So you can use this calculator that we have linked over here to make sure that you're inputting the correct number of zeros for your intended token supply. Since I already did that, I'm going to just go ahead and copy my token supply here and just paste it in. So this should be for, oops.
Yeah, so essentially this means adding a bunch of zeros, right?
In a nutshell, it's adding a bunch of zeros and making sure you have the correct amount of zeros to represent your intended token supply for your token launch. So this value right here should represent 100 tokens, and we'll see that on the block explorer once we deploy everything and check that we've done that correctly.
Nice.
So we'll go ahead and save everything, and then we'll run npx hardhat compile here in our terminal. This will compile our contract to get ready for our deploy. So we see that we've compiled 6 Solidity files successfully. Now we can go ahead and run our deploy script here. So just a heads up, this deploy script will also be shared in the Medium article so that you can just copy that. If you go into the README as well, there is some guidance on how to essentially configure your script for deployment. But because I already have that ready, we will go ahead and just do that here in 1 second.
Yeah. In the meantime, I just want to clarify because the boilerplate already has code that is, a script that is deploy.js, right? So what you are doing here is exactly what?
So what we're doing is we're taking the deploy script given to us over here, and we're going to just swap out where it says your network with Metis. So,
Perfect.
and I might have an extra space there, so hopefully this still runs. Oh, great. Okay, so Mintable token has been deployed, and we've got our contract address over here. So before we jump into our verification, we'll just go ahead and copy this, and let's check it out on the Explorer for now. So we dropped there, and we've got Metis Workshop, and it looks like our token was created successfully. So we'll click this over here, and we can see that it looks like I added one additional 0 there, so we got 1,000. So this is just a reminder to be especially thoughtful when adding your arguments to that deploy.js file in the boilerplate. So going back to the contract, we can see that the code is here, but it's we can't read it, right? So we want to verify our contract so that our anybody who's interacting with our token contract can check out the code on the block explorer and make sure that it's something that they want to interact with on chain. So to do that, we'll jump back into our VS Code in our terminal, and we'll be running another command to verify our contract. So in order to do that, we'll be using a verification command. This verification command is going to have to be structured with the contract address of the token that we deployed in. Then in our deploy script, we have to be concerned with the contract name variable over here that we have defined. So contract name in our case is mintable token. And we also have to be concerned with the mintable-token.sol contract file name. So these are the 3 variables we'll change in our essentially boilerplate verification script. So bear with me just 1 second while I write that out for everybody.
Sure, no worries. In the meantime, for the people in our audience, because I see that new people are joining now, we are doing this amazing workshop with our friends at Cookbook, and we are showing live how you can create your token and a trading pair on one of the dexes on Metis. In particular, we are going to be doing this on Hermes, which is one of our favorite dexes. We have plenty of them, and we will have more and more. But for the purpose of this tutorial, what we wanted to show is how you can do this on this particular DEX, and you will be able to check out all of this material later on. The recording will be available for everyone to watch, and on top of that, our friends at Cookbook are going to be publishing a full Medium article with the details on how to proceed for deploying these contracts and creating the liquidity pool on these DEX called Hermes.
Thanks for that, Victor. So here we can see the command that I'm going to run to verify our contract. We have npx hard hat verify hyphen network Metis, and then our newly deployed token address that we just grabbed from our terminal here with a space hyphen contract, and then we'll have this right here. So this represents the name of the smart contract that we have under our contracts folder over here, and then the name of the actual contract, which we see in our deploy.js file right over here. And then sometimes, because of the nature of the updates of Web3 and compatibility across hard hat and different block explorers, sometimes things fail. Having test check in 1,000 here kind of just helps prevent that sometimes. So we'll attempt to run this command, and let's see if we are able to successfully verify our newly deployed smart contract. Okay, so we've successfully submitted, and we've successfully verified, and we're given a link to the block explorer where that's actually verified. So we'll go ahead and just click that and see what we did over here. So you can see the difference in the code tab particularly. So we have now anybody can see our code for our deployed contract, and they'll have the option typically to read and write to this code as well. So if somebody wants to interact with the contract, if there's not maybe a front end for a user to work with, they'll be able to go over here and read or write to that contract. So just to summarize, so far we have sourced our smart contract code from cookbook.dev, downloaded a hard hat boilerplate from cookbook.dev, including all of our smart contract code, gone through all of the steps required to deploy and verify our smart contract, and now we are ready to go and create a pool on Hermes. So we'll go ahead and jump into the Hermes DEX page. If you go to hermes.mydao.io, you can kind of follow along there. And we'll be concerned at first with the liquidity menu tab over here. So we'll jump into liquidity. We'll say that we understand. And we're going to add liquidity for our newly deployed token. So we'll make sure that we have our contract address available over here. We'll copy that. We'll go to select a token, and then we'll insert our contract address, and we can see that it's picked up over here. So we'll select that. Because we just deployed this token, we'll be the first liquidity provider. So just a note, if you're doing this on your own, this step is essentially where you set the price for your token. So take some time to potentially research other tokens across the industry and different ecosystems. If you have questions about pricing your token, for this workshop, I'll mainly be focused on the tech side of this. So not going to really give any advice on anything financial or any specific launch advice for your token, but do some research. We'll be using kind of arbitrary numbers just to demonstrate the steps required to create a pool and make a swap on that pool. But in order to optimize and make your project as successful as possible, take that time to research on pricing or jump into the Cookbook Discord, and we'll be somebody in there, maybe not somebody on our team, but maybe one of our community members will probably be able to give you some advice on either where to research or just on how to set pricing for this. But let's just go ahead and we'll create our pair for our new work token and Metis. So let's do, I don't know, we have 1,000 tokens. Let's do 100 of them for 0.1. So again, this is completely arbitrary. Make sure to do your research prior to this step for your input amounts for your token and Metis. And for this workshop, we'll really be focusing on creating a pair with Metis, but you can also create a stable pair with a stable coin like USDC on Metis. So just keep that in mind. So now that we've set our inputs in Hermes, we'll approve our different tokens and pay a small fee to do so. And we'll give it a second to do its thing under the hood there. This essentially just lets this dApp access these tokens from our wallet so that we're able to provide liquidity for this pair.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yep, once you've gotten to the stage of verifying your contract, the liquidity pool side is pretty straightforward. So let's see. Okay, great. So now we've got the option to supply now that everything's been approved and has confirmed on chain. So we'll select supply. We'll get a little bit of a summary on what we're depositing on what we're depositing in this pool, and then we can select create pool and supply. So we'll have to pay another small fee over here and select confirm. So we'll give it a second over here to update in Hermes, but we've just created our initial pool for our newly deployed token on the DEX. So now we can go and see this under manage. We should have our pools that we created appear over here. Sometimes you may have to refresh the page or mess around a little bit to make sure it appears as things update on chain and interact with the front end and things like that. So give it a second. And in the meantime, we'll get ready to actually test a trade and a swap for our newly deployed token. Let's see.
So just to be clear, now anyone can participate and go and try to trade this pair, right?
Exactly. So the idea behind this is that now somebody like you do this so that once your token is deployed, somebody can actually buy it. Prior to taking this step of creating a pool and a pair on a DEX, the only other way to have somebody buy that token would be, through a centralized exchange listing or some kind of OTC deal you do. So this is really the number one way to get people access to purchasing the token that you just deployed.
Amazing.
So we'll select Metis. So we're going to swap from Metis to our new token that we just created. So we'll test out a very small amount. So we'll be swapping 0.001 Metis token, and in return, we'll be getting back 0.993502 of our newly deployed workshop or work token. This price that we're seeing is established when we create that initial liquidity pool based on the ratio of Metis tokens to our newly deployed token that we include in that pool. So again, just do your research on pricing for this to set a price that you're comfortable with for your project. So we're going to go ahead and swap a small amount of Metis for our new token and just hit confirm swap, pay our very small network fee, and see. We'll give it a couple seconds here to update on the block explorer so we can see that was successful. And we get an on-chain rundown of essentially what has happened over here. And if we jump back into our MetaMask, we can see, and I'll have to import my token here for it to show up. But we can see that we got some additional tokens. So we started off with 1,000 token work supply. We can see it here as a shortcut, actually, right here in the DEX, since we're connected and it's familiar with the token. We started off with 1,000 work tokens. We created a pool using 100 of those, leaving us with 900. And we've just done this swap, which gave us this additional 0.993 value. So this token is essentially out in the wild now. Anybody who's watching or anybody in the world can go to the Hermes DEX through MayaDAO, type in the contract address for the token that we created for this workshop, and then actually purchase some. I don't recommend that you do this. This is really just a technical workshop. This is not a token launch or a project or anything of that nature at all. It's simply a tech demo. So to recap, I'll kind of just walk through everything that we've done so far. We have started at the Metis developer resources page on Cookbook, added the chain to our wallet, explored the different outlinks to resources that we can use as builders to make our life easy. We went into the contracts tab on Cookbook and we filtered our tokens or our smart contracts by keyword with a token keyword, and we selected a smart contract from Cookbook. Then we went into the smart contract we selected. We learned a little bit about it using Cookbook's AI helper. Over here, we downloaded our hard hat boilerplate, went through all the steps to change the files in our hard hat boilerplate from what comes standard to what we need to deploy the token. We compiled our contract, deployed it to Metis mainnet, verified our contract, viewed that on the Metis Block Explorer, and then we went into Hermes and created a pair and a pool, and then we tested out a swap. And again, all of this will be in that Medium article as well.
Yes, I mean, I think this was super, super clear and informative, Michael. Thank you so much for doing this live demonstration. Like I mentioned before, we have had people before asking about like the next step, not only the deployment of the token, but then how to provide the liquidity and all that. So I think that verifying the contract and adding this next step of providing the liquidity on a DEX is something that is really valuable for our community. Once again, I want to stress, just like Michael, that this was a tech demo. We are not encouraging you guys to do any purchases of any token at all. So please be aware of that. And yeah, let's see if we have any questions. But while I'm checking that, do you have something else to add at this moment, Michael?
The only things I'll add is be sure to look out for communications on the Medium article following up from this workshop. It'll have all of the code that you can copy and paste for the hard hat config JS file, the deploy script that we used, the verify script that we used. And then I'll just give a brief shout out for one of Cookbook's ETH Denver events. We're hosting something on February 27th. It's essentially just a builder happy hour. We're focusing on Solidity and AI. So if you go to lu.ma/capital Solidity, capital AI, you can sign up for that, and I'll approve you guys to come join us during ETH Denver. And I'll also be hosting another workshop with Metis in person during ETH Denver on February 29th. So look out at the cookbook.dev Twitter or Metis L2 Twitter for information on signing up for that event. We'll be covering a little bit more intermediate to advanced developer topics for Metis.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure to, if you have the chance to be at Denver, of course, make sure to assist to those events. It's going to be super exciting. We have plenty of demos booked with not only with Cookbook but with other partners such as Chainlink as well. And you're going to learn a lot. I can assure you that it's going to be super fun. And as you can see, this tool Cookbook is, I mean, it's wonderful, right? Like you can do anything. You have these boilerplates, you have the support of AI, and also you have these nice tutorials that we are going to be doing in collaboration. So thank you so much, Michael. On my side, I have to say, I don't have any question because it was so clear and so straightforward that, yeah, just to say, I really appreciate you coming here and providing such valuable resources for our community as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. If anybody has like further questions that they maybe didn't have a chance to ask during this workshop, jump into our Discord at discord.gg/cookbookdev, all one phrase, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. If you end up deploying a token to Metis and then creating a pair, would love if you share that with our community. And I'm sure Victor would appreciate seeing some of the amazing projects that you guys come up with using this information.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on the side of Metis, oh, I see already a question. Is there any token will be given to person who added liquidity pool? Uh, I, yeah, I think this is like if we can add a sort of transfer function, if I understood correctly, Michael.
So I think I'm understanding the question. This is more of like a general liquidity pool question, if I'm understanding correctly. So you will earn fees as the LP provider on Hermes. So as users go and trade your token from the pair that you collected, they'll pay a small fee. That fee will go to you as the LP provider. Let's see if the update tab here has managed. Let's see. So we're gonna try to import our pool here actually, and then check on the fees that we got from the test swap that I did. And if you want to like pull out your LP, we can maybe talk a little bit about how to do that. So we can see that the LP balance is over here, and then the ratios. Let's see, liquidity. So pool found. Oops. Okay, so now we can see that we've imported our pool into the Manage tab in the Hermes Dex. So over here, we can add additional liquidity, or we can remove liquidity. So if we go to remove, this essentially is taking out the tokens that we initially put in to our pool. So just be very thoughtful when doing this for your own project. This will affect the pricing on the token that you launched. So just be very cautious and aware when you do that. I'm not sure for Hermes specifically, but sometimes you'll get like an LP token when you create a pool, which essentially serves as like a receipt for the funds that you put in, and you'll be able to swap those LP tokens for the initial tokens that you put in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for replying to this so fast, Michael. It was very informative. And let's see if we have any other questions here. I'm checking right now. I don't see anything else. But like I said before, I think it was super clear, and I'm looking forward to our collaboration over there at ETH Denver. And one final call to action to all the people that are viewing today: please make sure to join also the Metis channel. There is a Telegram group specifically for developers. So if you have questions, I will be there ready to reply to you and provide you support, as well as my colleagues. And we have the documentation, which we think is quite clear. But the best way to go always is to try things on your own. And then if you come up with questions, you have these channels where you can get support from people at Cookbook. And if they are specifically for Metis, you will get support from us for sure. So with this, I think that we can close this amazing workshop. Thank you one more time, Michael, for joining us today. And I'm curious to see what are we going to do next, because I'm sure that we will keep doing these interesting demonstrations. So thank you so much once again.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Really looking forward to seeing what everybody builds on Metis once again, and can't wait for the next one. Thanks, Victor.
Thanks. Bye-bye, guys. Take care.